Check out that tattoo, probably from Call of Duty. Mocking laughter bounced off the walls of the training room as recruits snickered at the silver-haired woman standing silently in the corner. She was older, reserved, always sticking to the back. They called her Grandma. None of them had any idea she'd lived through a place that wasn't listed on any map, until the general emerged from an unscheduled chopper, eyes narrowing as he muttered, "That's a Reaper unit marking. Who is she, and what would make a general fly in personally for a so-called grandma?" Avery Cain entered the gates of the Joint Military Training Facility precisely at 5:45 a.m., a full 15 minutes before roll call. At 42, she was easily the most senior in the elite combat prep course. Her silver hair was trimmed military short, and her steely gray eyes carried a silence that unsettled people. She wore a strange blend of civilian and tactical attire: black cargo pants, a weathered green shirt, and combat boots that had clearly seen more conflict than most recruits ever would. On her left wrist, hidden beneath a time-worn leather band, was a tattoo, just numbers, a cryptic string that meant nothing to anyone who noticed. Lieutenant Harper had overseen training for 8 years, but Avery's dossier wasn't like any he'd handled. Most of it was redacted with heavy black strokes, Level 5, classified, stamped across page after page. All he could make out was her name, age, and a line that made no sense, transferred by direct order of General Mallory. No questions asked. Harper didn't understand it, but a direct order was a direct order. The other trainees picked up on her presence immediately. 23 fresh-faced candidates, most barely out of high school, eager to prove themselves in a high-level tactical program. They mumbled among themselves as Avery quietly took the corner seat, saying nothing to anyone. "Who's the old lady?" asked Reed, a smug 20-year-old from Texas who thought gaming made him a war expert. "Maybe she wandered in by mistake," someone laughed. "This isn't senior yoga, it's tactical warfare." The teasing started during the first roll call. Everyone else responded with strict precision. Avery just nodded when her name came up. During the opening weapons inspection, while others rattled off textbook knowledge, Avery calmly stripped her rifle, checking components no one else seemed aware of. "Need a hand." "Grandma," Reed joked during target drills, "this ain't a musket." From your generation, Avery never reacted, not to the jabs, the smirks, or the blatant disrespect. She handled her tasks with an eerie accuracy that felt more unsettling than any comeback would have been. Lieutenant Harper watched closely, not growing in his stomach. Something about her didn't fit. The way she handled scenarios, her fluid weapon transitions, how she seemed to anticipate drills before they began. Anytime he asked about her experience, she would only respond, "I trained overseas." That's all she ever said. On day 3, during a complex simulation of urban combat, everything shifted. The challenge was considered borderline impossible. 4-person teams had to maneuver through a mock city, dodge simulated enemy fire, and rescue a hostage all under 20 minutes. Most squads failed miserably. Avery's team was falling apart. Reed, having claimed leadership, was totally disoriented. The GPS wasn't working. Enemy fire came from unknown directions. 15 minutes gone, no results. Then Avery stepped forward. Without a word, she produced a hand-drawn paper map. She pointed to a route not found in any of the manuals, one that wove through deserted buildings and avoided the heaviest conflict areas. "Follow me," she said. It was the first time she gave a direct command. They followed. And they won. Not just one. They broke a program record. The win should have earned Avery their respect. Instead, it fueled Reed's insecurity. He was hellbent on proving her success was just luck. "She probably memorized the setup," Reed whispered later. "Or she's got Harper feeding her intel." The insults ramped up. During equipment checks, Reed would declare, "Don't let Grandma hurt herself lifting that." During runs, "Ease up." The seniors lagging behind, even though Avery always finished among the top 3. But the cruelest moment came during comms training. When Avery's turn came, Reed grabbed the radio and spoke mockingly. "Attention, base. We got a confused civilian on the field. Elderly female, possible dementia, requesting med support." Laughter erupted. Harper overheard but turned away. He was stuck between enforcing rules and avoiding whatever covert nightmare Avery might represent. Avery stood silent through it, face blank. She didn't report anything, didn't lash back, just waited for Reed to finish, took the radio, and delivered flawless tactical comms in half the time. Still, the tension kept building. Harper sensed a breakdown approaching. It came during the most punishing test, Last Stand Protocol. It simulated a base siege total comm blackout. Incoming enemy waves. Teams had to rely solely on old-school tactics and basic gear. No GPS, no tablets, just raw military skill. Chaos exploded 20 minutes in. Reed's squad was cornered, boxed into a dead-end alley. Enemy fire came from all angles. Paper maps were useless. No one had learned to read terrain. Radios jammed. "This is crap," Reed yelled through smoke and blanks. "How are we supposed to do this without GPS? This isn't real training." Avery stepped in. She'd been quietly watching from the rear. Now she moved with intent. She pulled a folded paper from her pocket, not the issued map, but one she'd drawn earlier. It was detailed, elevations, sight lines, cover options, and a route marked in red. "The extraction point is here," she said, tapping an unlabeled section on her hand-drawn map. "But we can't head there directly overlapping enemy sight lines." Reed stared, completely lost. "How would you even know that?" "Because I can read terrain." Avery replied plainly. "Take this path, single file, 20-meter spacing. When I give the signal, hit the ground and hold. I'm not following commands from some old lady who probably learned tactics during the Cold War." Reed snapped. The rest of the team shifted uneasily. Watching both of them, the countdown kept ticking. Their team was falling apart. Avery met Reed's eyes for the first time since training began. Her voice came low and calm, but with a weight that came from somewhere far beyond any simulation. "You can stay here and lose, or you can follow someone who's actually lived through this. You choose, recruit." Something in her tone left no room for argument. Even Reed found himself falling in behind her as Avery led them through a path that, against all odds, worked with eerie perfection. They bypassed every ambush, reached the evac zone faster than any squad that week, and achieved more mission objectives than most even attempted. At the final checkpoint, Lieutenant Harper stood waiting, his face unreadable. Behind him, the rhythmic chop of helicopter blades sliced the air. A Black Hawk descended without prior notice, the kind of arrival that signaled someone important was coming. As the rotors slowed, a high-ranking officer in full dress stepped out and strode toward them. Harper stood stiffly and saluted. It was General Barrett, the very name listed on Avery's transfer forms. The general didn't acknowledge Harper, nor any of the recruits trying to catch their breath. He moved past all of them and stopped directly in front of Avery, who stood quiet at the back of the group. For a moment, he said nothing, just looked at her. Then, with unmistakable emotion, "Welcome back, Sergeant Cain." The Reaper unit thought, "We'd lost you." He snapped a salute. Reed and the others froze. Reaper unit. That name echoed from the darkest corners of military folklore. They'd laughed at her, mocked her for being outdated. And now a general had landed, not for the commanding officer, but just to salute her. In a world filled with chaos, what makes time freeze? A command, an explosion. Or maybe it's the arrival of a general who came just to restore honor to someone history forgot. Type honor in the comments if you believe real recognition is the greatest medal of all. After the salute, the entire field went silent, even the helicopter. Distant gunfire and rustling wind seemed to pause. Reed stood slack-jawed. The rest of the team just stared, trying to make sense of what they were witnessing. General Barrett slowly lowered his salute, but remained at attention. His weathered face was a mixture of gratitude, respect, and something that looked like mourning. This wasn't the reunion of old comrades. It was something more sacred. Lieutenant Harper stepped forward, obviously rattled and trying to reassert order in a moment that had gone far beyond his authority. "Sir, I wasn't briefed about any visits from command today. Should I assemble the full training unit?" General Barrett finally turned to him. "Stand down, Lieutenant. This isn't a drill inspection. This is personal." He waved the recruits closer. Reed and his team moved in hesitantly. Their arrogance was gone. They looked like kids who had just realized they were about to face consequences. They didn't understand. Listen carefully, General Barrett began, his tone that of a man who'd led legions in actual war zones. 11 years ago, there was a group that officially didn't exist. No records, no medals, no recognition. They were called Reaper Unit. He paused, letting the name settle. A few recruits had heard the stories, late-night rumors in mess halls and online forums, stories people always dismissed as fantasy or psychological warfare. Reaper Unit operated for 9 months in places erased from maps. They pulled off missions deemed impossible by the highest strategic minds in the Pentagon. And the only reason they succeeded, the only reason anyone from that unit made it home was one person. He turned to Avery, who hadn't moved or spoken since his arrival. Her gaze was fixed somewhere far away, like she was watching something none of them could see. Sergeant Avery Cain kept 12 operators alive in environments where survival wasn't just unlikely. It defied mathematics. She led them without satellites, without drones, using nothing but instinct and hand-drawn maps. She carried out medical procedures she was never trained for. She made tactical calls that broke every rule in every field manual we've ever printed. Reed felt physically sick. Every mocking comment, every insult. Each time he called her grandma or made jokes about her age, it all came back at once. And it hit like a gut punch. When Reaper Unit was finally dissolved, the general continued. Sergeant Cain requested to vanish. No medals, no retirement ceremony, no credit. She said, if the work was truly classified, then she should be, too. We honored her request, even though it meant burying one of our best. A female recruit named Lexi wiped tears from her face. She had laughed the hardest when Reed made the dementia joke into the radio. Now she couldn't even look at Avery without crying. General Barrett saw the effect his words had on the group, but he wasn't finished. 3 weeks ago, Sergeant Cain contacted me. She said she wanted to try something to find out if she could still serve, teach, contribute without being defined by her past, but only if people would value her for what she knew, not for what she'd done. His eyes locked onto Reed. She wanted to see whether today's soldiers could respect wisdom for what it is, not because it comes wrapped in medals. Reed felt the blood drain from his face. The truth was sudden and undeniable. Avery's system. Avery hadn't just been hiding her skills. She'd been hiding a legacy that could silence a room full of elite soldiers. The Reaper Unit tattoo, those cryptic numbers, weren't just ink. They were a mark of a ghost unit that operated in the shadows of history. General Barrett's unannounced arrival wasn't just a visit. It was a pilgrimage to honor a legend who chose anonymity over glory. But what was it about her that could pull a general out of the sky and into a training field? The answer lay in her silent expertise, her ability to turn chaos into victory with nothing but instinct and a hand-drawn map. She wasn't just a trainer. She was a survivor of missions that never officially happened, a keeper of secrets that saved lives. The recruits mockery calling her grandma, laughing at her tattoo stemmed from their own inexperience, not cruelty. They saw age and quiet confidence and mistook it for obsolescence. But Avery's story exposes a deeper truth. We often overlook mastery when it doesn't shout its presence. Her choice to forgive, to let the recruits learn through their failures rather than demand respect, showed a rare kind of leadership, one that values growth over ego. The general's gesture, returning her broken watch from Kandahar, wasn't just a memento. It was a symbol of her ability to solve problems when technology failed, a reminder that true skill outlives gadgets. The memorial wall, with its hidden Reaper Unit section, spoke to the cost of her service comrades' lost names, etched in stone, and her quiet vow to keep their memory alive. This story isn't just about military prowess. It's about the power of humility, the weight of unseen sacrifices, and the rare courage to let actions speak louder than titles. Avery Cain didn't need a spotlight. She needed a chance to prove that wisdom, not rank, defines a hero. Have you ever misjudged someone's value because they didn't fit the mold? Share your story in the comments. Let's honor the quiet heroes among us. Type honor to show you believe recognition is earned through action, not appearance. Subscribe to Real Storyline for more stories of unsung courage. Punctuated script. For voiceover, check out that tattoo. probably from Call of Duty. Mocking laughter bounced off the walls of the training room as recruits snickered at the silver-haired woman. Standing silently in the corner, she was older, reserved, always sticking to the back. They called her Grandma. None of them had any idea she'd lived through a place that wasn't listed on any map, until the general emerged from an unscheduled chopper, eyes narrowing as he muttered, "That's a Reaper unit marking. Who is she, and what would make a general fly in personally for a so-called grandma?" Avery Cain entered the gates of the Joint Military Training Facility at 5:45 a.m., 15 minutes before roll call. At 42, she was the oldest in the elite combat prep course. Her silver hair was military short. Her steely gray eyes carried a silence that unsettled people. Black cargo pants, a weathered green shirt, combat boots that had seen more conflict than most recruits ever would. On her wrist, hidden under a leather band, a tattoo just numbers, cryptic, meaningless to onlookers. Lieutenant Harper, with 8 years of training oversight, had never seen a dossier like hers. Redacted pages, level 5 classified, only her name, age, and one line, transferred by direct order of General Mallory, no questions asked. A direct order was a direct order. The 23 fresh-faced recruits noticed her immediately. "Who's the old lady?" asked Reed, a smug 20-year-old from Texas, gaming his war expertise. "Maybe she wandered in by mistake." Someone laughed. "This isn't senior yoga, it's tactical warfare." The teasing began at roll call, while others snapped. Responses, Avery nodded. During weapons inspection, she checked components no one else knew existed. "Need a hand, Grandma," Reed smirked during drills. "This ain't a musket." Avery didn't react. Her eerie accuracy unsettled more than any retort could. Harper watched, uneasy. Her fluid transitions, her anticipation of drills. Something didn't fit. When asked about her experience, she'd say, "I trained overseas, nothing more." Day 3, an urban combat simulation near impossible. 4-person teams, mock city, enemy fire. Hostage rescue, 20 minutes. Most failed. Avery's team, led by Reed, was lost. GPS failed. Fire from all sides, 15 minutes gone. Avery stepped up, pulled. A hand-drawn map pointed to an unlisted route. "Follow me," her first command. They followed, broke a program record. The win should have earned respect. Instead, Reed doubled down. "She memorized the setup," he whispered. "Or Harper's feeding her intel." Insults grew. "Don't let Grandma hurt herself lifting. Ease up." The seniors lagging despite her top 3 finishes. During comms training, Reed mocked over the radio. "Attention, base. Confused civilian, elderly female, possible dementia." Laughter erupted. Harper turned away, caught between rules and fear of Avery's covert weight. Avery stood blank-faced, took the radio, delivered flawless comms in half the time. Tension built. The breaking point, last stand protocol. Base siege, comm blackout. Old school tactics. Reed's squad was cornered, maps useless, radios jammed. "This is crap." Reed yelled. "No GPS? Not real training." Avery moved in, produced a detailed hand-drawn map, elevations, sight lines. "Red route, extraction points here, not direct enemy sight lines." Reed scoffed. "How would you know?" "I read terrain," she said. "Single file, 20-meter spacing. Hit the ground when I signal. I'm not following some Cold War lady." The team wavered. Time ticked. Avery's voice cut through, low, heavy. "Stay and lose. Or follow someone who's lived this. Choose, recruit." Reed followed. Her path bypassed every ambush, hit the evac zone fastest, achieved unmatched objectives. At the checkpoint, Harper waited, face unreadable. A Black Hawk landed, unscheduled. General Barrett stepped out, strode past everyone to Avery. "Welcome back, Sergeant Cain. The Reaper unit thought we'd lost you." He saluted. "Reaper unit." The recruits froze. They'd mocked a legend. In a world of chaos, what freezes time? A command, an explosion, or a general restoring honor to a forgotten hero? Type honor in the comments if real recognition is the greatest medal. The field went silent, even the chopper. Barrett's face held gratitude, respect, mourning. "Stand down, Lieutenant." he told Harper. This is personal. He faced the recruits. 11 years ago, Reaper Unit didn't exist officially. 9 months in erased places. Impossible missions. Sergeant. Cain kept 12 operators alive against mathematical odds with instinct, maps, untrained medical procedures, rule-breaking calls. Reed felt sick, his grandma taunts echoing back. She requested to vanish. Barrett continued. No medals, no ceremony. If the work was classified. So was she. We buried our best. Lexi, who'd laughed at the dementia joke, cried. 3 weeks ago. Cain wanted to test if today's soldiers could respect wisdom without medals. Barrett eyed Reed. She let her actions speak. You mocked her age instead. Silence. Tears. The test was for you, not her. Barrett faced Avery. Your decision, Sergeant. Do you stay? Her voice was soft, firm. They're young. They mess up. The test is if they learn. She looked at Reed. Prove you've learned. Recruit. Barrett smiled. Welcome back to active training duty. Address her as Sergeant Cain. Listen, she's not what you expected. The next morning, the mess hall hushed as Avery entered. A recruit offered her a central seat. A silent apology. Reed, nervous, presented a handmade wooden Reaper Unit badge. I know it doesn't fix anything, ma'am. I understand now. Avery's face softened. Apologies are easy. Prove it. Others joined Sarah with Avery's tactical notes, another with her map for future training. Martinez asked, can you teach us to shoot? Read maps. Harper offered Colombian. Coffee. Barrett returned, in fatigues, with a cracked watch. Your Kandahar compass saved us. Avery's eyes glistened. Didn't think I'd see this again. At the memorial wall, Avery touched Reaper Unit names. We're still here, she whispered. The recruits saluted, understanding honor at last. Some enter without fanfare. Silence isn't weakness. Avery Cain's story proves honor lies in actions, not status. In a world of likes and fame, we overlook mastery and humility. Her forgiveness, not Barrett's salute, was the real power, educating ignorance, not punishing it. The watch wasn't a memento, it was proof that wisdom outlives tech. The wall honored the fallen she carried. Who's behind your scenes, solving problems quietly? Who've you overlooked? Real honor needs no followers, just eyes willing to see. Share your stories of silent heroes. Type honor for integrity over spotlight. Subscribe to The Silent Brave for more. ****